an Arizona Lotus Corp radio station.
Do you even smart speaker, bro?
Listen on your Amazon Echo device. Alexa, play Rock 102.1 KFMA.
You say it, I'll play it.
You want it? You got it. Reality radio done right. No nonsense, real and raw, just like you like it.
He's corrupt, he's inexperienced, and he lies.
Broadcasting from a broom closet in the Arizona Lotus Studios, it's Beef Vegan Presents.
One more time for good measure. Yo, welcome back to the show. It's Beef Vegan Presents live on Rock 102.1 KFMA, streaming worldwide at KFMA.com on this beautiful hump day, July 26th. Good morning, Weirdo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tucson. Thank you guys for listening. We've got a great show lined up for you today. It's Wednesday, so we'll have another confession session. We have your summer fun song that you're going to be listening for, 8:10. I'll tell you what song it's going to be and when it's going to be played, so you can qualify for that Orlando getaway or just that $3,000 cash. Speaking of cash, nobody won the Mega Millions last night, so now the jackpot's closer to $1 billion. And get ready, because that's when I start buying tickets, so move out the way. Here, let's do this, Weirdo. I don't want to keep our guests waiting because we got Tim here backstage. So please welcome to the guests, because you guys know him from Tim and Eric show. And of course, he's a hilarious comedian, actor, writer, performer extraordinaire, Tim Heidecker. Tim, good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Of course, you got a great setup there. Welcome to the podcast broadcast, dude.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, big fan, of your work, of your concepts, of the way that you approach and think about comedy. First and foremost, it's great and it's inspiring. To say it easily, it's very intelligent comedy. It's essentially pulling the curtain back on the cliches and kind of educating an audience and at the same time challenging them and entertaining them along the way. How far off am I
I'm using the whole quote. I'm gonna make I'm gonna pull it and put it on a poster and put it in my home and tell my friends that that's what the deal is.
Yeah,
no, that's very nice. I mean, thank you.
No worries.
You're right on the money.
Yeah, I agree with you agreeing with me.
You agree with yourself.
Yeah. How long you been doing this tour, this run? Because you're coming to the Rialto Theatre on the 31st, which is hot as hell. So bring some water.
Yeah, we'll have some water. That's a good idea. I didn't think about that. That's pretty much the first week of the run. So then we're on the road for about a month. We did the tour last summer. And it went so well that we doubled down and are back at it. So can't get enough.
Yeah, no, I love it too, because I've always been a fan of the art form of stand-up comedy, but the way that you approach it is different, because it's almost like a character work in a way.
Very much.
Yeah, and
even though it's my name, I am the character.
Yeah. So you embrace this character of yourself, essentially doing stand-up comedy. When did you come up with this concept, and how long you've been playing around with it before you started testing it on audiences?
I tested it. I mean, I those things happened at the same time. I didn't play around with it until I tested it, I guess. I did it originally as kind of a goof on the LA open mic scene, which was full. I would go to support some friends of mine, and you just see these failing, overly ambitious people that probably wouldn't make it much longer. And so I did it kind of as I guess you could say a troll move or a parody of that. But I put it on YouTube, and it kind of got popular just right away, sort of, in my circles, I would say relatively popular. Yeah. But so I just kept doing it, and it was a fun way for me to get in front of an audience. And I never aspired to be I would say a quote unquote actual stand-up comedian, but I was able to do it, kind of have it both ways, like kind of fail and be an idiot, and also get up there and entertain. And it just kept growing, and the act kept growing, and we made the special that did very well. And for some reason, I think I compare it to like pro wrestling, where you kind of go as an audience member, you go and you're kind of in on the joke, and the audience is kind of a character too, because the audience laughs at the wrong jokes, and they're cheering for the wrong things, and there's just
Yeah.
an element of kind of theatricality to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I was going to, last night when I was just kind of preparing and just getting ready to talk with you,
Well, I
I was,
appreciate the preparation.
yeah, a little bit as we
Yeah.
go. I mean, I've been following your career for a while, anyways, and then obviously there's the influence of Andy Kaufman, and we'll talk about
Totally.
potentially like other influences. But I had this like great build up introduction in my mind that I forgot to write down, and didn't get much sleep tonight, so it slipped my mind. But if I was to describe you in one word, I would use the word fearless. And
Thank you.
and fearless in the way that you create art, whether it's sketch or live performance, because it is a way to again push boundaries, and you're whenever you're trying to do something new, as you talked about these open micers in Los Angeles, right? The formulaic stand-up comedians, right?
Yeah.
They got their setup, they got their punch, and it's nothing that you haven't seen before. To
Yeah.
go into territory that you haven't seen before, and to risk knowing that a majority of the audience might not get it at first. It might go over their head. And that uncomfortable silence in a live room, a lot of comedians are terrified of.
Yeah.
But do you get a rush off of, experimenting with something new, knowing that eventually they're going to catch on and the payoff will be there?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I always responded most to comedy that wasn't for everybody, and I think part of that is you feel smart when you or you feel like seen is another overused
Yeah.
word, but that feeling when I was watching Mystery Science Theater or SCTV or something, where it feels like they've burrowed into my brain and have found how I think and how I feel, or that immediate reaction. And so when I'm doing my stuff, I'm always hoping that that's what's happening out there. I know none of us really approach it from trying to distance ourselves from anybody,
Right.
or turn anybody off. We're not looking to intentionally unentertain you or not entertain you. We just want to, first of all, it comes from a gut instinctual, this makes me laugh. This makes my friend laugh. We're making each other laugh. Let's film it. Let's do it. Let's get out there and put it out there. And um, I I was very recently reminded, I can't remember by who, but just talking about it, I'm like, I forget that there's a lot of people that would never think to do that, or wouldn't be comfortable doing anything in front of people.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I already have that just in me, that I enjoy that, or I'm not intimidated by that. So that gives me an advantage to do what I do. But yeah, I learned a long time ago, like when Eric and I first started, that there are going to be people right away that hate it, that are going to tell you they hate it, that get angry about it, that are jealous or bitter that I'm doing what we're doing, and that's never changed. And I did a sketch with Tim Robinson about it, which was like, go back to your old shit,
Yeah.
do your old stuff. And those people have been around forever and will continue to be around. So you just have to keep forging forward and do what you love. And hopefully there's enough people that like it to let you keep doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely also kind of like wrote the blueprint in a way of kind of being underground successful comedic duo and comedic performers. And so in a lot of ways, even though you've been a part of mainstream projects like Bridesmaids or whatever in movies,
Yeah.
you got the credibility from that underground circuit. When you and Eric started, how long were you essentially like DIY and working on your craft before it got noticed on a larger scale, like Adult Swim and whatnot?
It was a post college, in college, and then maybe about 5 years of making stuff, shooting stuff on the weekend. This was before YouTube and like really kind of before social media. in a lot of ways. I think Friendster was around, but it
Right.
was us making tapes. We had a website. It was like a little tiny QuickTime, video or real player
Yeah.
video or Flash or something.
Yeah.
And that's how we spread our stuff, and got some key people to see it and gave us a shot at Adult Swim. But yeah, we came pretty, just having lived together and made stuff just for fun. It was always for fun and for recreational purposes for the most part. So yeah, we were fairly developed by the time we got a chance to do something.
Nice. Yeah, we're talking to comedian Tim Heidecker here on the podcast broadcast. He is going to be performing at the Rialto Theatre on July 31st, and we're live on the air right now as we go back and forth on this podcast broadcast. What was the pitch like for Cartoon Network when you guys, because obviously this is not like a normal thing, like, hey, we got a sitcom we want to go, or a cartoon about stoners. It's not an easy pitch. How did you win them over?
It's funny. It's kind of I'll try to do the short version. It was we had made this short called Tom Goes to the Mayor, which was this little very rudimentary animated thing with stills and us talking. It's very dry. It was very us, but also just kind of weird and a little unsettling. It got passed around and eventually ended up in Adult Swim's headquarters. Some people there didn't like it, didn't get it. Some people did. A woman that did get it thought that it would be a good bumper, which is like the things between the shows, like little 1-minute interstitial things.
Yeah.
But the main guy there, Mike Lazo, who's sort of the genius of Adult Swim, the guy that kind of started it, he saw the future with it. He just said, "No, I think this could be a show." And we were stunned. We did not see that.
Right. Yeah.
But you take the opportunities the way they come, and it was primarily just animated. It fit in. I understood it. It fit into their aesthetic of very lo-fi, and very weird. But so and we had at the time, Bob Odenkirk was our first person that we reached. We'd reached out to a lot of people, but he was the first to be like, "This is cool. I like you guys. What do you, what's your deal?" So we had him in our corner. We had sort of the style of the show, and they said, "Yeah, go write a script, go write a pilot." And at the time, I think the budgets were so low that they were sort of just throwing stuff at the wall and trying stuff and giving room for us to figure out, which was just, I mean, it's hard to have perspective in the moment. And now I look back on it and just be like, wow, they really took a huge risk on unknowns, and we took it very seriously, worked very hard, and it became our life.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge though? Because you're going from essentially creating little bits and sketches and videos on your website and doing this all DIY, and then they greenlight you and say, okay, now we want you to write a full show and a bunch of those, right? How many initially? So what was, I mean, obviously after you and Eric, probably your heads explode and you're like, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
Then you buckle down and do it. How difficult was it to put it together like a 30-minute or 15-minute show?
It took a little bit, and we luckily had Bob, who had many sit downs with us, kind of explaining story, and he always said about us, and he's said this a bunch of times. It's like Tim and Eric we were good at taking notes or taking his feedback or his suggestions and ideas and making them our own. So we would not take everything. He knows everything about comedy, and he's very passionate about it. So we would take like, half of what he said, and then it would kind of go through our mixer. But you're bringing back I don't say painful, but definitely they're definitely like, wow, we're in the deep end here. I don't know what can happen to these two characters. And then you learn that you just write what you think is funny, try to make the other person laugh. And then the rest is kind of just problem solving. It's like, I think a lot of writing is half inspirational, like ideas that you get in the shower. And the other half is sort of like a crossword puzzle where you just have to figure out how to finish it, or just a maze where you're like, all right, how do we get to the end of this thing? And it's funny, especially with comedy, where that show didn't really mean anything. The stories people weren't we didn't get any awards for our storytelling. It was just
Yeah,
about
it wasn't a
jokes
running
tonight.
narrative either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting challenge for sure. And just also to think about being 25 or something like that, and suddenly like being in charge and being in the producers of this and hiring, figuring out how to hire people and work with other people and what's the right way to tell somebody to do something, like all that
Yeah.
stuff was like thrust in us in the first year of making stuff.
Nice. We're talking with Tim Heidecker, who's performing at the Rialto Theatre on July 31st. Tim, this is Weirdo, by the way.
Hello.
Hi, Weirdo.
I'm so rude in not introducing my co-host. We're going to keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. Be back with more Tim right after this. I want to talk about, of course, producing. Now that you're also producing shows, you're producing the show with Eric that I'm a major fan of on Netflix, and these two guys. We're going to talk more about that, and also about the live show that's coming to the Rialto on July 31st. So all that more, youtube.com/BF. Going to keep it right here. It's Rock 102.1. All right, clear. So now we're on just the podcast part. So let's talk about this. So I saw that you're producing Chad and JT Go Deep.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I'm a huge fan of those guys. In fact, just played another one of their clips just the other day, talking about AI taking over and whatnot. What made you want to get involved with them? And you've been a fan since you saw them.
Yeah, I one of them, I think it's JT. What's the curly hairs guy? What's his name? I always get him confused.
I think that's JT.
JT.
Yeah.
He was an intern at Absolutely, our production company.
Really?
Yeah, years ago, and he was around, and him and Chad started making these videos and caught our attention, caught our Eric and I's our partner Dave Kneebone, who is sort of on the development side, kind of runs the company. He really loved it. We thought, yeah, I mean, this is an obvious no-brainer. Like, just they were already picking up steam online.
Yeah,
Stern was playing them, and so it was just like, how can we help? I mean, our approach to being a production company is just simple as that. It's like, how can we help? How can we stay out of the way? What is it that you want to do? And we're not going to do much more than that. I'm not here to tell you what is funny or what's not funny or what you should do. So it's hands-off policy, laissez-faire producing, just
very non-traditional CEO or producer, right? It really seems like,
I mean, we had one bad experience really early on with a producer, and it was not it was complicated, but it essentially boiled down to like, get out of our way. We're trying,
Right.
we think we know what we're doing. Like, what can you do to help us? And so when we launched the company, it was with that idea that just, the stuff we dig, we hope other people will dig. And we understand that everywhere else, people are going to be in your business and have ideas about what is best, and we trust you. And it comes back to what Mike Lazo at Adult Swim's attitude was always like, I don't know what the answer is. You try it. If it works, we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, we'll move on.
Yeah,
it's not that complicated.
Right. Now, I actually see similarities between Chad and JT Go Deep on Netflix and Tim and Eric, because, again, this is essentially a bit turned into a series. And then the show itself, has kind of a running narrative, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it coming back for a season 2 on Netflix?
I don't know. They don't tell you these things. I don't think that's a good sign that I don't know. I can only say that.
Breaking news. He has no idea.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Well, that'd be ridiculous.
You can't have the good. I mean, in general, the rule is you can't have the good things. I mean, that's usually the rule, right?
Yeah. Oh, how is this acting strike and everything, actor-writer strike? How's this been affecting you? What are your thoughts on this?
It blows. It is. It's a serious thing. I believe in it. I believe in the leadership of SAG and the WGA, that I think they're honest brokers who are trying to, find a fair path forward for all the members. And the misperception that I see, and I went and picketed, and you've heard all this, but a lot of people are ignoring it or willfully being, talking about it in bad faith, but that this is some kind of, the elites, the millionaires are not happy. And, the truth is there's vast majority of the members of this union are working people just like everybody else. They're
Like,
working middle class, working class people. There's no very little job security of, and it's entertainment. So maybe there's room for there not to be. It's a risky business, but
yeah,
it's also a business that we all as a society just support through. We all watch TV and we all watch movies, and it seems like people sort of take it for granted, that the people you see on there, the writers, the people in the background, the small parts, these are all people that if they, if this goes the way of the studios, it feels like it doesn't it's not a viable career path for people, and
right.
so I think what SAG and the WGA are asking for is reasonable. I think with AI there needs to be guidelines and guardrails and regulation to figure out, like the obvious thing I keep thinking is like, just because a technology exists doesn't mean you have to use it. Like the atom
Yeah,
bomb is a good example. Like
right.
there's things that you can do that maybe we shouldn't do, and I think it's on the producers and the studios to create these for their own sake too. Is like, how are you going to use this technology, and what for? Is it just to save money? So this is the time to say that, I think, and it's time to put something in writing. And I think, we'll see where it goes. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a long fight. And the more people that aren't in the union, people listening that want to support, they can search up SAG strike and learn about it. And I think at some point there's going to be some kind of boycott, because, the people have to understand what they're going to be losing. If I don't know, I mean, it's hard to be. This is not solving world hunger. This is not the climate emergency. It's sometimes hard to rise it up to that level. But these are hardworking people out there that deserve better, and that's all we're trying to say.
It's an entire industry, and we're talking with Tim Heidecker about the SAG strike here. And obviously, it's a entire industry. It's something that is very valuable to humanity as a whole, entertainment, and having that absolutely. I was saying this morning to Weirdo the fear of the impending content drought that is going to happen. Same thing that we had during a pandemic and shutdown. We had a little bit of a drought. Well, if this strike continues to happen, well, then guess what? A year or two from now, every project that you've been anticipating or hoping for is going to be delayed or not even made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it sometimes it sounds, trivial to talk about TV and movies as something important, but let's be honest, like it provides so much. It provides community. It's stuff. It helps us understand the world. It provides stress relief. I mean, who doesn't just love turning on, The Office or Seinfeld or something and just zoning out for a half hour? I think it's important, and
yes.
and it helps us, understand our world. And do they all get it right all the time? Of course not. But I think it's part of us. It's part of our culture, and it's worth making sure, if you're a consumer of it, it's important to learn about the business practices of the studios and how it works. Just a little. You don't have to learn everything about it, but understand what's at stake.
Yeah, now with streaming being the thing, obviously all these streaming networks, I think a large part of the conversation is residuals for streaming.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. Now you, having your show be on Adult Swim, I'm sure you benefited from residuals and maybe DVD sales for a time being before streaming really became the mainstay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the huge difference in that, and how unfair is it really to the people who create these projects?
I'll be honest, I don't really know. I don't look at it that closely. I trust the leadership of SAG to understand it better than me. The whole the math behind the residuals is hilarious and insane to me. I don't get it, but
Yeah.
you know,
It
like
sounds like Spotify with musicians,
yeah,
honestly.
I'll
Yeah.
get I'll get 2-cent checks. You know, I'm grateful for it. You know, I'd rather get 2-cent checks than no cent checks, but
I guess,
you know,
yeah.
and it does seem like the stuff I've done for streaming comes in quite much lower anecdotally. I mean, I was lucky. You mentioned Bridesmaids. I was lucky to be in that movie and had a very small part, had one line, but I get like nice checks from that show, from that movie, you know, like
Really?
all
Yeah.
the time because it plays so much. It's on television all the time. It's on
Right.
airplanes. It's global, you know. It's one of these movies that will just on TBS at 3 o'clock in the afternoon will be on for some reason. And
Yeah.
so that sometimes you hit those kind of things, but off most of the time. I mean, I've done a lot. If you look at my plug for IMDb here, but if you look at my
Yeah.
IMDb, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of stuff that no one's seen. I've done a lot of, you know, voice work and smaller shows. And that's when it's like, you know, you do some show that ran for 6 episodes on Comedy Central and it's, you know, you get your 3 cents, but that's okay. Believe me, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting money off of work that you've done and got paid for before, so I could see that. But I look at this strike as an argument for it's not just the entertainment industry; it's a reflection of the other industries that are going to be striking as well. We just had the U.S. Postal Service;
Yeah,
they just
or the
striked.
UPS, yeah.
UPS, yeah, and they just resolved that. But it is like literally like all around one by one. There's going to be more and more people saying, "Hey, this isn't fair."
No.
And strikes are going to happen. So today it's the actors. Tomorrow it's going to be the grocery workers, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it's the tool in the toolbox to use when you've had enough, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's thank God we have it.
Yeah. Does this inspire you at all when you go into your act? Because, you know, you're on the road now. Of course, Tim Heidecker is performing at the Rialto Theatre live July 31st. So you could be there in person to check out the entire show. Now, this is another run. You did a tour before. Is it all new material? And do you take, like, how long does it take you to kind of put together the stage show for this?
The material is definitely new from the special on YouTube. It's some big chunks of stuff from last summer, so we're going to new cities that haven't seen it before. So I think unless you're traveling to see it from a show last summer, but there's a few new things. You know, these stupid jokes, they come to me, you know, as I'm trying to go to sleep at night, and if I'm lucky to remember them in the morning, I'll write them down. And it's what's funny to me is like stuff that's a little dated, you know, like I'll do a Biden or the Chinese spy balloon joke.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and you're like, wait, what? I kind of remember that, you know, or I'll do like I got like a "Let's Go Brandon" joke, and you're just like, oh, like you're fine. Like this guy's finally learning about "Let's Go Brandon," you know. So the strike might be too current, but we'll see. We'll see.
No, with your character too, you know, and the way that you present this comedy, one of the first things that will pop up if you Google Tim Heidecker is Tim Heidecker conservative, and of course they automatically go into politics on this. So and it's a way that sometimes I guess the presentation goes over your head. But do you find yourself getting like rabid fans that miss the joke, but are like, "You're okay in my book"?
You know, if they've I think that if that's happening, I'm not aware of it, but I do find it actually happens on the reverse side where people on the left might take me literally and
Yeah.
think I'm this person and get very angry about it. There's a thing online, I don't know if you've noticed it. It's like very literal. People are very literal now. They're like, and they want to get on they want to get on the record immediately before doing any research. They also
Yes.
want to know, they're also completely confused. So they'll say, what is this? Is this real? You know, like just right away.
Yeah, and then be outraged.
Yeah, and be outraged. And I would be so embarrassed to publicly state, you know, confusion. I think that's really funny. I'd be like, I'm just going to be quiet. If I'm really interested, I'll Google it, you know, I'll look it up. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very weird thing, but you know, it's only amusing. It's not a real reflection. I mean, I always like the people that come to the show are the reasonable ones, you know. I mean, there are some people are online and stuff too, but they're like, oh, I'm not. What do you think I'm like? Who's commenting on YouTube videos? Who are
Right.
the
Yeah.
who, not to sound like Seinfeld, but who are these people? Like I would never think to pipe in somewhere down there,
Yeah, and then
Um,
say something insulting, especially
yeah,
like a
especially insulting. Sure, that's nice to say, hey, I liked this, or funny stuff, or the encouragement your dad would give you, but
yeah.
but to go on a tirade and how this is the worst it just seems mentally ill.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
And a huge waste of time.
yes,
Totally.
we've got it. Yeah, living on the internet, we've
But
seen it.
people, that's a form of like recreation, or a form of gaming or something, or there's some kind of satisfaction that happens, I think, for people when they get to do that. So maybe it's fine, but I don't understand it.
Have you ever gone through the comments before and get a kick out some of them?
Oh, I'm in there all the time. I'm fascinated by it. I love watching like some of these there's this new political podcast, this guy PDB his name, and I don't want people to check it out, but it's a
Yeah.
political show, and he's on the right, but he sometimes has lefty people on, and he
Mhm.
had Anthony Weiner on. And I love reading the side chat that's going on while this is going on. People
Yeah.
are losing it. They're calling for this guy to be put in the wood chipper. They're calling for his execution, his head, like
Wow.
over and over again.
Right.
And you're just like, Jesus, this is dark.
Yeah.
And then you watch what's happening, and it's a heated conversation, but it's like, come on, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, you don't need to call for his head.
I
Yeah,
know.
well, is there a comment that you seen online about something that you did that kind of stuck with you that still makes you chuckle?
Oh, geez, all the time. I mean, there's a lot of people that think I'm some kind of elitist, that my beliefs or what I do is based on me sort of serving a agenda, or that I have to do it. I have to do this. I have to be politically to the left. Otherwise I wouldn't work. Like there's that kind of perception, which is so just removed from fact, and it's hard to. I don't want to reason with those. There's no reasoning with them. There's no explaining. But that idea that somehow I'm like getting a pass, like I have to fill out some questionnaire to work, or I really want my goal. Tried to do this before, but didn't really work. But is to really like let somebody immerse themselves that believes this like into my life, and see how sort of ordinary everything is, and how there isn't some kind of dungeon with children in the basement, and
Right.
that there's no kind of secret society. There's nothing. It's just like we're all just trying to do our best, and
Yeah.
so there is that weird perception. So
what's even funnier to me, it's not like you're like the mainstream like Tom Cruise. Right?
No, exactly.
Like, you could.
I'm not really seeing the benefits of my allegiance to leftist Marxist ideology. I'm not really like, I'm doing good. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy, and I consider myself successful, but I don't got no private island.
Yeah, but you are doing it your own way, and you're not following a formula. And this is another reason why you got so much respect and clout amongst the comedic world, and is because if anything, it's the opposite of the easy route.
Right.
The easy route would be doing the stuff that's like the standard norm, but you are continuing as an artist, and I don't use that word liberally.
You don't use it literally.
Is that you honestly, are like, you are challenging not only yourself and what you create, you're challenging the audience. You're doing these things that, again, go against the norm and not the easy route, and still succeeding on that. So yeah, it's an absurd argument to say that it's because of some Illuminati like checklist you have to follow to keep cashing your residuals.
You didn't give enough blood last year.
Right. Yeah. Well, I always believe in humanity, and I believe that maybe there's a person out there that I can convince, or maybe somebody listening here could go like, what? Yeah. Why do I think that, but everyone's going to have their own opinions, and they'll probably hear me say this and be like, that's what a liar. That's exactly what he was told to say, so there's sometimes there's no winning, but that's okay.
Well, as someone who has listeners on both sides of the spectrum, we make it like a clear point not to talk politics to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I've been doing radio for a while, right? And DIY and stuff, a lot of similar stuff. And I remember when I was up in Phoenix for 7.5 years on a LPFM. It's a low power FM, and it was an indie alternative station. So you couldn't get more alternative minded, right? And
Yeah.
it wasn't corporate funded, so you had to search me out. You had to actively try to listen to me. It wasn't easy, right?
Yeah.
And then during the last election cycle, as soon as Trump started going into the picture, of course, as comedians, as doing this game, the morning radio game, the late night talk show game, any current event comedian, we've been making fun of politicians in my entire lifetime. I'm familiar with comedians making fun of politicians.
Sure.
Then I saw like a turn that I couldn't even make fun of a guy who was literally made fun of my entire life.
Yeah.
And as soon as I mentioned his name, people would call me up on that station and say, "Oh, fuck you." And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of defensiveness there, right? I mean, it's a lot of projecting, because there's got to be in the core, in the back of the mind of a lot of, like, listen, there's a lot of like dumbs out there, but there's got to be people be like, God, this guy is a clown, but I gotta put that in the back of my, I can't,
stay on the team, I guess.
gotta stay on the team. But so they get the resentment, or sort of that that feeling of like, I know you're right, and it's not like right or wrong. It's just like, I'm with you. I can't help but not see him as a very, very funny, and not intentional. Sometimes he's intentionally funny, I guess, but often it's just like, it's just one of the funniest things ever. It's hard to deny that, and I can't just put that aside and ignore my gut or my instinct. It's
and you're not wrong.
He's funnier than ever. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. Like, what was the thing the other day about what the hell is a blizzard?
Yeah.
You're like, God, he just keeps giving, and I could have a totally different conversation about policy or political belief, or who we should be as a country. That's kind of separate from just the fact that he is somebody that's really funny and fun to make fun of.
Yes,
because he's such and it is hacky, because it's like, so most of the stuff you don't even want to mention because it's just so obvious, and he does the work for you and he provides the entertainment. But some of the weirder stuff feels like worthy of goofing on, but I'm not out there doing like I don't really even mention him in my stand-up special. I barely, I definitely was white hot with the record I put out, but it's people think it's all I do, because I make that's the other thing is online. You post him saying, I did everything right and they indicted me. That's just funny, right? And I post that on Instagram and go, all you think about is Trump. You've got Trump derangement syndrome. Like, no, you have that because you feel, the desire to chime in anytime anyone mentions his name.
Right, yeah, and hyper focus. But I will say it also ruined the fact that, like, now we have President Biden, and sometimes President Biden does things that deserves to be made fun of. And now I feel like you know what? They ruined it for that side too. Fine, you get no presidential jokes. I'm not making fun of any presidents because fuck both you babies on each side. You know, it's equally crazy on each extremes, and it's just like they took the fun out of it for me. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we goof on Biden enough. He's some of it is, the guy's got a speech impediment. Okay, well that's not the funniest thing to make fun of. You know what I mean?
That's true. Right.
Yeah. So like, I don't know exactly how to, like Robert F. Kennedy, his voice is that's a disease, that's a guy that had a disease that is, is a neurological condition. Like, is that grounds to make fun of? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel super, but most of his issues are like his own
self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, you can probably go down the line of saying that's a medical condition too, so, psychological condition. But but I mean, if Biden misspeaks and it's funny, like we'll definitely goof on him for that. But
that's good.
Not when it's just him stammering, which is frankly something I deal with too. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to make fun of him because he's garbles words sometimes, but there's other stuff that's definitely fair ground.
Absolutely. Yes. That's good. Again, Tim's going to be performing at the Rialto Theatre on July 31st. I know that you've performed in Phoenix a bunch. Is this your first time in Tucson? You've been down here before?
You know, I think I played a show at a hotel there, like a nice old, like an old hotel.
Hotel Congress.
Hotel
Yeah,
Congress.
That's
Hotel
it. Yep.
Congress. Yeah.
That was a great night. Great, beautiful venue. Great hotel. Stayed at
And
the hotel.
Rialto. Yeah, the Rialto is right across the street from that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so like literally they're kind of like two in the same. They're both historic, so the same vibe. Of course, bigger room in Rialto.
Yeah, bigger room. That's what we do. We start small. We keep getting bigger.
Yeah, because you did start doing club dates, and so you're like with Hotel Congress, that was Club Congress. I know that you've did like Crescent Ballroom in Phoenix, and that's like a 500 person room, and now you're with Rialto, that's essentially like a 1,500 person room, or you pick 1,000.
I would say, oops. No, it'll be good.
Now, have you been finding that kind of like the return obviously is growing? So all across this latest tour, these are bigger theater runs that you're doing?
Pretty much, yeah. We aim to, get as many people in as we can, and sometimes it's the cities are different. There's places where it just boom sells out and feels like everyone's there. And then there's other places where it takes a little while, and some people are more accustomed to just showing up on the day, and then I understand that it's some places are a reach, and you're like, well, there's just not enough people in this town that like my stuff to come out. You know what I mean? That's fine. But I love doing the smaller cities, and first of all, a lot of places I've never been to before, and the band hasn't been to, or so. We're unfortunately, I think we're going to spend a lot of time backstage and in the bus due to the heat that is destroying our southern half of the country. So I don't know how much exploring I'll do.
Well, you definitely got to eat some tacos. Do you consider yourself like an amateur foodie? Like eating good food around here?
We try to do our research and get the good stuff, and just I'm trying to avoid food poisoning. That's really my main goal on the road is just to not get sick, and that's becoming harder and harder, of course, in the world we live in. But yeah, I mean, tell me what tacos to get. I'll get it.
Well, you can't go wrong with any tacos in this town, to be honest with you. It's hard to find bad tacos in this town. We're so close to Mexico, and honestly, we blow Mexico out of the water. But I'll give you like a couple names here when we get strictly on the podcast. But we're talking with Tim Heidecker, who is performing at the Rialto Theatre on July 31st. Tell me about this show again. You talked about the band. So this is not a traditional stand-up show, and I want to let people know. And in Tucson, we're traditionally a walk-up town too, so we like to be like the night of. So what can we all expect with this run when you come to the Rialto Theatre on the 31st?
It's a show in two halves. It's the first half is the no more bullshit stand-up character who does a good tight 40 minutes or 30 minutes of stand-up, and it's walking. It's like a controlled demolition. Watching it's just but I think if you know the material, love it. If you don't, you'll love the reaction to it, and I think most people get on board. And then the second half is me and the band, and we play like any band, a cross section of my songs. But it's not. What's happened to that set is that's become pretty funny too. Whereas I play a lot of my music is serious, not entirely serious, but I'm still me, and so in between songs, and there's a few funny songs, and the band is incredible. In fact, our guitar player, Catfish Connor Gallagher, is a Tucson native.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
nice.
He couldn't be more excited for us to play there. And he's a wizard. He plays the pedal steel and then the regular 6-string, and he can play anything. The whole band is really. I'm so lucky to play with him, and we're one of the reasons to go back out is really just to be with the band and spend time with them, and we all just got along so well, which was not something I could expect necessarily. It was kind of put together through various friends and recommendations and stuff, but it really clicks well. My Office Hours podcast host Vic Berger plays keyboards, and he's a lot of fun. He's the real team mascot and kind of the fan favorite. He gets more cheers than I do sometimes. So yeah, it's just a good it's like I'm very proud of it. It's a very well-rounded show. It feels like you get a lot of variety.
Yeah, variety
Nice.
shows would be the way that I would explain it. Weirdo, you have a question?
Yeah, I do actually want to take it back when you were talking about like getting the Tim and Eric show and like having that experience of like hiring and auditioning and getting people involved. Like, I'm a little obsessed with John C. Reilly.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how was it to work with him? Like, how did you get him on the show? Like, what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, he was when we hooked up with him, he was definitely an actor we loved. He wasn't, he hadn't done Talladega Nights yet. I think he was just like a well-respected character actor. So we had him come in to do a voice, and he was starting to like sniff out comedy and wanted to do more comedy. And he reacted right away. Like I mean, this is just him saying, I'm not trying to boast, but he was like, he's like, I've been reading a lot of comedy scripts, and this is like the first one that made me laugh, and I wanted to meet you guys. So I was like,
Wow.
cool, big fan. And then he came to our office, and I'll always remember, he just kind of looked around, and we had this small office. There were a bunch of young people, wearing hoodies. I mean, not a bunch of, I would say like 7 people, young artsy people. And he was like, who's in charge? And we're like, we're in charge, and he said, so you guys are just making the show on your own? Like, yeah, sort of. I mean, we talked to the network and stuff, but so immediately his head starts, the wheels started spinning. He saw ideas on our wall and was like, what's that? And we were starting to think about our next show, Awesome Show. So he's like, I'd love to do something for that, and that just started like that. He was, we used to lure him in with a sandwich from this sandwich shop that we all loved. And we said, hey, you want to come by? And we got these sandwiches. So he'd come in, and, he just felt welcome there, and felt, because he really comes from a great acting as an art tradition. He considers it like, this is a vocation, not a career. And was just vibed with us and thought we were funny, and he's funny. And since, become like a really, really close friend. And I mean, I got a side text going with him right now that I'm ignoring. But he's just like a trusted, close friend that happens to be extremely talented and funny and great in everything he does.
You gotta love that, and again, so the running theme is with Odenkirk, who I hear has done pretty well for himself. John C. Reilly, same. They became fans of your work and really just became part of the team through that admiration of what you guys were doing, and they got it. And I think that's awesome, and that's essentially how you continue to build the talent around you. And now you're taking those friends on the road, and you're performing at the Rialto Theatre July 31st. I know you guys are a walk-up city, but you should probably get your tickets ahead of time at rialtotheatre.com.
I believe it'll be air conditioned. I've been told it might be air conditioned.
It will. It will be a nice indoor air conditioned event where you could laugh and then rock out. So you got a full-blown night of just all different types of entertainment from Tim Heidecker. Tim, dude, I appreciate you taking the time to
chat what? I don't always say this. This was a great interview. I really appreciate it. Sometimes you do these things and you go, okay, hope that was okay. This was very, very smart and nice. And I really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot, and I don't get called smart often, so I'll take that. I'll take that little clip. I'll reshare it on social media a bunch, and I can't wait to see you live when you come through town.
Yeah,
as well.
Say hi if you can. I'm sure you can work your magic.
Yes, I know some people. I do.
Right.
Small top. All right, I'll let you get back to talking to John C. Reilly. There's Tim Heidecker, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you again. Later. All right, so there you go. All right, so fantastic. I'm stoked about the show, as you know, and I think we did pretty good on the interview, as you could tell.
You guys just need to like make promotional posters for each other.
Oh yeah. I don't know how much of that I was bleeding over the FM side too. So, all right, let's hit the reset. I got Valdez here, and we got a beef tip earlier this morning. Of course, we got Weird with Weirdo. In case you missed it, went like this. Weirdo wanted to hear that new music with Dirty Honey. Won't Take Me Alive and Rock 102.1 KFMA. So if you want it, you got it, Weirdo.
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, speaking of Weirdo, it is now 6:52. Time to get weird, Weirdo. What are some stories that you came across that you found odd?
Oh, even odd, weird for me.
Oh, that's got to be super strange.
Yeah, this one, I'm like, what is wrong with this chick? All right, well, we had talked not too long ago about a woman who married a ghost.
Yes. That woman did she have little ghost babies?
No.
Little Caspers floating around?
No. But sign up the movie. Get Christina Ricci on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So her name is Bricarde, And no, they did not have babies. In fact, they got divorced. So till death do us part does not include ghosts.
You know, that's not cool because this really sucks, especially if you're like if your ex-husband is a psycho ghost, right? Say maybe stage 5 clinger ghost, because they can see through walls and stuff. So this potentially your ex-husband could spy on you no matter where you're at, and you wouldn't even know it because your ex-husband's a ghost.
God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's creepy.
Yeah, you know, I do recall this story a couple times. She popped up and going viral because she was obsessed and sure that she was in a full-blown relationship with the paranormal and full-blown got married. And I think people even showed up to the wedding, which is very odd.
Yeah, there is a video of the wedding where she's just holding out her hand, supposedly holding his.
Oh, yeah.
That she just looks awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think that's awkward, you should see their sex tape. So what are the details on the divorce? Is she asking for alimony?
So the ghostly groom took issue with her talking publicly about their relationship.
As you would.
Yeah. And over time became increasingly possessive and also has a super fascination and obsession with Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
So
who probably hangs out with all the time.
Right.
And possessive, is that in a literal sense where the ghost is possessing people?
Yeah. Possessing her and then just walking around.
No, wow, yeah, that's very odd. Well, hopefully she'll find some living love after this in the rebound. But again, your ex will be watching.
Well, and you know, she's a singer and she's released a new single, so I think she'll be okay. She'll fall back on that.
Yeah, she's a Taylor Swift of ghost bangers. What else you got?
This one is very weird and interesting, but also super promising in the medical field.
Okay, what's that?
So a blind teen, he is 14 years old. He's been blind his entire life. He was born with a condition that made scarring over his eyes, so his vision deteriorated. A doctor in Miami, Alfonso Sabater, has taken a form of deactivated herpes virus.
Okay.
And that has already been approved for topical gels and things to use for scarring. And he made it into eye drops and it worked.
Brought the vision back for this blind teen using herpes.
Yes.
Wow.
The vision came back to 2025.
Wow. So even stronger vision. Wow.
Yeah. So, and it is very exciting. It's a huge breakthrough, but it's also incredibly expensive. $631,000.
Wow.
For the treatments.
For an STD in your eyes? I thought you can get that for about $5 on Miracle Mile.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's end that with a PSA. Please don't try this at home. Okay. If you have herpes and you're dating someone with poor vision, just don't. Oh, look at that. Valdez is here. And we still got Weirdo, so have no fear. She didn't go anywhere. Still basking in the glow of knocking out another all-star interview there. Again, we're going to tally up these eventually, all these interviews that we do. And eventually, again, people outside of this area figure out that we know what the fuck we're doing around here.
Did you ever post the full David Draymond interview or just those couple of clips?
Well, I posted a bunch of the clips. I didn't post the 30 minutes all the way through, and I'll tell you why. Because one, I think the file's buried somewhere in my StreamYard. Two, there were parts in it where I was like, which I wish I could just edit out, right?
Right.
So I liked it a little cleaner, and then whatever, it was clickbaity. But we did have a good conversation with David Draymond as well, and he did say the same thing that Tim Heidecker said. Is that we're the best they've ever had. So, it's a running theme. So we'll continue to do that. Speaking of the best I ever had, we got Valdez in studio, and he's proposing a stunt on air because if you recall, remember the pictures that we shared with you guys from the Rialto concert with As the World Burns, the wrestling themed event. Valdez was flanked by the two ring girls basically the entire time, smoking hot. Tucson girls, right? One was short, a little pixie
short
girl.
One was Raquel, and then Kayla's the tall one.
Yeah, so Raquel was on his shoulders the whole time. Kayla, she wore these amazing little booty shorts, and I still remember that butt. Like I could close my eyes and see it. Watch, I'll show you. So
I wasn't even there, just saw the photos, and I can see her ass right now.
Oh, you would wear that ass like a hat for sure. So Kayla is a fan of the show, apparently, which I think is awesome. And she wants to come in and hang out one of these mornings. And she's a piercer as well. And she's proposing that Valdez get his tongue pierced on the air, which I don't think the company will allow, to be honest with you, sadly enough. But we got to figure something out. And then I'm sure it would be fun. And also, have you had your tongue pierced before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it even painful?
It's not painful initially. It's weird, the clamp that they hold it down and then you like drool for a few minutes because there's no choice. It was the couple days after the swelling, and then you gotta do the mouth rinse like 14 times a day.
Yeah. The droolings would be funny. Let's see, how far can you stick your tongue out there, Valdez? This for the ladies.
You already have it pierced.
You already have it pierced.
I want a double.
What the fuck? What, really?
I'll explain it off air why I want a double.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the butthole and the clit. We get it. And you got a giraffe tongue, so you could probably reach both. But
What's sad is when your tongue's longer than your weenie.
no,
Life is just weird.
what's sad is when your weenie and your tongue are both short. That's what's sad. Yeah. So it's just a lot of extra work on both ends and stuff. But you could still get it done, Valdez.
Thanks, coach.
No, get in there.
Yeah,
I feel like there should be the word Ted behind you.
Yeah, so with all the talks for sure.
He's always hyping me up. I love it.
Yeah,
That's why I come in here, man.
Yeah, dude, and we missed you. I know that. Actually, Valdez was in the room the entire time we were doing the talk, but obviously, I was already set up talking to, Tim, and Todd wants you to say a line real quick. Valdez.
Oh, I'm Valdez.
There you go. You got to make it deep and boomy. We're going to get into our beef tip here in about 30 seconds, but I do want to start it off with you saying I'm Valdez, so we could do that, and then we'll wrap up the show. And tomorrow morning, Weirdo and Rico are both going to be in studio as we hang out for a little super show. Friday, if you're not doing anything, Valdez, Todd's going to be in. You could join us. We're going to have Robert back from Late to the Party via satellite. Todd in studio. I know.
No, I'm saying I'm not going to be here.
You're going to be on vacation.
I am.
Well, we'll have plenty of opportunities with Robert as well, for sure.
How dare you vacation?
It's also in this moment, Motionless in White on Saturday. So
Yeah. It's not even a vacation. It's like a 3-day, but
Right.
just going to have fun. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Say it, Valdez.
I'm Valdez.
Oh, that feels so good. That sounds so good. One more time, just real quick.
I'm Valdez.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And that's for everybody out there listening as well. I know that you wanted that and you needed that, and I get it. I needed that too. We're almost out of time. Obviously, you got to thank Tim Heidecker for joining us on the show. Fantastic conversation. If you missed any of it, we talked with him for about 45 minutes.
Yep.
You'll be able to see it on demand, youtube.com/beefvegan. I'll have a lot of posts and clips from our conversation, including the part where he complimented me, posted on social media over and over again.
I'm feeling low about myself today. Post.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, I mean, there's a turnabout. This week has turned for the positive, which is fantastic. Obviously, you guys have been listening and following along. I've been down on myself. I went through like a difficult summer, but I'm okay. And yesterday, I had a couple of things happen. One, I registered my daughter for high school, senior. And two, I paid my last car payment, so I own my car now outright. Yeah. And three, it was informed of ratings, and that was good news as well. So it was all in all, like I just look back, I'm like, oh hell, this is a fantastic day.
This is a good adult day.
Yeah, we're cranking it out, and then
if the McRib came back, you would just probably die.
Yeah. No, I'd make a mess of myself in my pants if they did, Be like, can't get any better. In fact, but yeah, so we're looking good on that, and we're keeping the positive things going. And of course, then we had an awesome interview, and we still got a couple of awesome shows before the week is over, and hang out at Royal Key on a Friday afternoon. Let me get into your beef tip before we wrap things up, though. Okay, because I got a lot of stuff. Here's the smartest thing you could do if someone hits your car. You ever been hit got in a car accident, right? Like to where it wasn't your fault.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you have to interact with people, right? And you got to exchange information, everything. They're saying that if you really want to be smart about it, and it's according to police and lawyers and insurance companies, is to film your interaction with the other driver. So full blown go Karen, I don't know. This does kind of feel invasive, and I'd be a little pissed, especially if I rear-ended somebody. I'm already feeling like a jerk, but I will say this. I did get in a situation a few years back where I bumped into a girl in front of me in a construction zone, right? And when I say bump into, I was going less than 5 miles an hour. And so I'm like, oh, boom,
nudge.
Yeah. And basically it was construction. It was stop and go. She stopped short. I was changing the radio station at the time because I heard this classic rock DJ talk, and I'm like, I'll change the station. Anyways, so I accidentally bump into her. So we pull into the parking lot. So we look, and of course, there's zero damage. There's zero damage on my end. There's zero damage on her end.
Mhm.
But she is like just saying, I need to get your information. And she's being very steadfast. And she had, not steadfast, not the right word, but she had a guy riding with her who's the boyfriend or friend. And he's like rolling his eyes like, I don't understand why she's doing all this. This is all for nothing, really, right? Fast forward a couple months later, I get notification from my insurance company saying that this chick is straight up saying my neck, my back, I'm paralyzed, and, claiming like all these things happened in a collision that literally caused zero damage.
Right.
Didn't even break my plastic license plate holder in the front of my car. And so, if I would have videotaped this interaction at first to show everything, it would have made the process a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying to do. So the smartest thing that you can do if you hit someone in your car or vice versa is to video the interaction with the other driver. And it could help a lot as you're dealing with insurance companies in future or with police. And it is legal to record video as long as you're in a public place. Okay.
All right,
so
then.
that's your beef tip today.
I mean, I've seen lots of dash cam that save people from those trying to commit insurance fraud too. So sound advice.
Yeah. Like you ever kick the back of a car and then lay down and be like, yeah, ran me over. Give me all the money in your pocket and I won't call the police.
I have a dash cam.
Oh, all right. I'll leave now. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, unfortunately. But I love to thank you guys again for listening. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do it all over again. Tickets for Asking Alexandria. We'll give you the song, the signature heating and cooling Summer of Fun song that you're going to be listening for. Rico, Weirdo, Rap GPT, all in the building. Valdez, good hearing from you again, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I love you all.
All right. And Weirdo, same. Rap Nash is up next. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Drive safe, ride safe. And as always, rock local. Later.
When you wish upon a side of beef, soon will come.
Thank you guys for watching as always. I'm not allowed to talk about it on the radio, but ratings came out. We're #1, son.